On the line, I have Bugsy to God. What up, dude?
What's going on? What's going on? Peace to everybody out there.
Peace and love to you, man. Thank you so much once again for joining the program, dude.
No doubt. Thank you for having me, brother.
Yes, sir. I would love to take it all the way back and do a deep dive into Bugsy, man. I would love to get to know you personally. So let's go all the way back, man. Tell everybody where you grew up.
No doubt. No doubt. So I was born in 1981 in Jersey City, New Jersey. You know what I mean? They call it Chilltown, USA. I was out there for about 5 years, and then we ended up relocating over to Brick City, which is Newark, New Jersey. Home of Redman, Naughty by Nature, Queen Latifah, and the list goes on and on. You know what I mean? That's where I come from.
That's what's up. I just saw a play literally last night with Tretch in it. They remade New Jack City. If that comes to your town, anybody listening, if that comes to your city, please go check it out. They did an amazing job. Tretch played Nino Brown, and man, he did an award-winning performance. So if New Jack City ever comes to your town, the play, I would highly suggest it to everybody out there. But shout out to Tretch, shout out Brick City, baby.
No doubt.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your upbringing, dude. What was your upbringing like, man? Newark is a rough area to grow up in.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty rough. You know what I mean? Thankfully, at least from the earlier stages of my life, you know what I mean? I had, pretty much a full family household. I had my moms, my pops. Then I had my younger brother who came probably about 4 years later after I was born. So pretty much within the four of us, we was able to kind of, come up together. I mean, we was a poor family though, you know what I mean? Like we wasn't dirt broke, but we wasn't well off either. You know what I mean? So it was definitely a struggle coming up. And then my parents split up when I was about 14, going on to 15 years old. That was right around the time when Machiavelli got killed in '96. You know what I mean? So once that happened, then we ended up moving up to Providence, Rhode Island, to the hood up there. You know what I mean? Because like on my mom's side of the family, the majority was living up there at the time. So my aunt was pretty much telling my mom, come up here. I got a room for you or whatever. So we ended up going over there, and that's pretty much where everything kind of started for me as far as really getting deep into the street life and, doing things I wasn't supposed to do, rebelling and whatnot.
Yeah, we don't hear much about Providence, Rhode Island. Can you give us an idea? Yeah, give us an idea of growing up and some of the things that you, that you had to do to survive back then.
So basically with Providence, I mean, it's like you said, anybody that's really not from out there, that's not familiar, they ain't really going to know. But I mean, where I was at, I ended up going to like the worst school in the city, which was Central High School. And at that time, we was just dealing with a lot of people, rival gangs in the area, a lot of Cambodian gangs and, blacks and Hispanics are kind of like going back and forth against each other. So, you kind of had to, I guess, not be affiliated, but I guess you had to have some sort of connection to somebody that was affiliated to the gangs. And, I guess that was kind of a way where you could kind of navigate through that whole situation as far as like surviving the situation. But yeah, I mean, up there, well, at least where I was at on the part of Providence, it was pretty rough up there. You know what I mean? And it was to a point where, things got so real that, my mom's was pretty much afraid for my life. And she said, look, you know what I mean? Once the school year is done, we're moving back to Jersey. Because at least out there, I feel like, it's still not the best option, but at least I feel like you're in better hands out here. You know what I mean? Like things are a little more controlled. Whereas out there in Providence, it was a little bit out of hand at that time. And again, like I didn't have my pops, who was the disciplinarian at the time at the house, pretty much guiding me and telling me like, hey, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Like I became the man of the house after he left. So at that point, I was just kind of like, all right, well, I'm doing me. Won't be out in the street doing whatever I got to do. And, and I got myself in, a little bit of trouble, and we ended up moving back to Jersey. And I kind of tried, I brought that same mentality back out here, and that really didn't work out that well for me. So, it's definitely an adjustment for sure.
Yeah. I'm in Los Angeles, and I actually grew up in a place called Long Beach, and we have the second largest population to of Cambodians, excuse me, next to the country of Cambodia. So I was, living right next to Cambodian folks myself. Shout out to the Cambodian homies in Long Beach. But I'm curious, man, because I am in what they call the mecca of gangs. Crips, Bloods started here, blah blah blah, spread out throughout the country. But I'm just curious about some of the gangs and things like that in Rhode Island. You mentioned a heavy Cambodian population. Did you guys have Crips and Bloods also?
Well, at the time when I was out there, I didn't really see a lot of Crips and Bloods out there. To be honest with you, it was a mix of course, like the Cambodian gangs, a couple Latin Kings and Nietas and things like that. But I at least from what I saw, I didn't see any Bloods or Crips out there at that time. I mean, I don't know now, because I know now is not better off. Like, I know there's still a lot of things going on, but it's heavily populated with Dominicans and things like that now compared to how it was back then in like 96, 97, things like that. So, in my case, like, I had one of my cousins who knew a couple of the Latin Kings up in the Boston set. And, they would come down to Providence and, do whatever they was doing. And I guess, again, that was kind of like our protection in a way. You know what I mean? Even though it's like we wasn't affiliated with the gangs, but we had connections, I guess. You know what I mean? And that's how we was able to kind of weather through a lot of that stuff out there.
Gotcha. What's your parents' background? I'm curious, where are they from?
All Dominican. You know what I mean? So Dominican Republic. I was born and raised out here in the USA, but produced in DR. Let's just put it together.
Okay. Did your parents ever share with you any of their stories about how they made it from DR to the United States?
So I know on my father's side, my grandfather came out first. You know what I mean? He came out to USA, and then he ended up getting my pops to come out here eventually. I guess the process back then was a little bit easier than it is today. So, they was able to come out, and then pops ended up meeting my mom's at one point when he went back to DR, and they ended up getting married, and he ended up going through the process of bringing her out here while she was pregnant with me. And that's how I was able to, pretty much be born here. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how it all started.